Hello, everybody, and welcome to Eden Fractal. Thanks for being here. I have the pleasure to be here with Eric and Zal and Rosmari and Tadas and Cece, who's joining us for the first time, invited by Zal, helping out with the Zao Fractal. Um, we have some exciting discussions going on in the fractal ecosystem, and so I'll give a little introductory presentation about Eden Fractal, and then we'll have a discussion about fractals and whatever it is everybody's most interested in. So, hope you all enjoy the event and hope you all enjoy the episode. And if anyone wants to say hello or anything like that, then feel free. And I'll jump into a presentation, then we'll open up for some community discussion. All right. So we're back here in 2025 for our second event of the year. And Eden Fractal has been growing the fractal ecosystem now for 4 years, and we're excited to create transformative benefits in the new year. If you're not yet familiar with Eden Fractal, check out edenfractal.com. It's a community dedicated to optimizing collective decision making through collaborative research, development, education, gamification, and community engagement. We're working on ways for communities and organizations to coordinate that are fair, fast, and fun. And we host biweekly events that everyone's welcome to join to learn more about better coordination systems from theory to practical implementation. Everyone's welcome to join our events, watch our videos, and explore our blog to learn more. We focus specifically on fractal consensus processes. And we are here to help you and your community organization thrive by learning how to use these fractal consensus processes to make better decisions. So we have a vision over here and a mission that's quite clear. You can learn more about these on the website, edenfractal.com, and you can learn more about fractal decision-making processes. The general idea is just how plants branch out in fractal patterns to maximize growth and scale up and be resilient. Fractal decision-making processes help communities coordinate effectively at any scale by breaking into smaller groups, so usually 36 people, playing fun games like the respect game and having on-chain reputation tokens like the respect token to enable an environment where every voice matters and decisions scale naturally and coordination emerges in truly transformative ways from these processes. So everyone's welcome to join the biweekly events and network with talented builders and learn more about fractal decision-making processes and help create a better future for everybody. And we produce videos of each event as well. So we have over 112, 113 videos that we've done so far on edenfractal.com/videos. Everybody's welcome to join and share your thoughts and be a part of the videos as well as watch our extensive library to learn more. And we're building tools. So there's many great developers in the community who are building fractal apps, powerful open source software that helps all communities grow with greater independence, coordination, collaboration. You can learn more about these tools and how you can use them or how you can get involved with helping to build them at the edenfractal.com, as well as our Telegram group and our weekly events, or our bi-weekly events rather. These happen on Thursdays at 17 UTC. And like I said, feel free to invite friends, and love to meet new people and help people understand these processes and collaborate. So check out lou.ma/optimistics. Eden Fractal is presented by Optimystics, a team of builders who are organizing events and building the software for these decision-making processes. And on the other Thursdays, we host Optimism Fractal events and Optimism Town Hall events where you can test out our software in real time and meet people building on Optimism, building on Ethereum, building on the superchain, and earn respect and the respect tokens. I also want to give a shout out to Zal and Cece, who is working with Zal on the Zao Fractal as well. They've been hosting Zao Fractal meetings for the past almost a year now, actually. And they have a calendar on the Zao.com where you can get involved and try out the respect game and the fractal decision-making processes with a bunch of great artists and creatives and musicians. So maybe CC and Zell would share a bit more about that. You could check out the Luma link for the Zao and find out the Zao.com to learn more and join their events on Mondays. And those are the Optimism Fractal events, which I shared before, which I meant to bring up earlier, but here they are. Check out the Optimistics on Twitter and on X, and like and retweet to help spread the word, and follow Explore Optimistics.io to learn more. And go to edenfractal.com/videos to watch all the videos from our past events. In our last event, we talked about growing the fractal ecosystem in 2025. We heard more about the Zao Fractal and Wave War Z from Zaal and Hurricane. Building for musicians with these fractal decision-making processes, as well as our new software or DAO deployment on base that Tadas has been building, strategic proposals for Eden Fractal, and much more. We've been discussing a lot about our strategy about how to bring these tools and processes to the world, basically, to help all community organizations benefit from them. So encourage you to check out the videos to learn more on the Eden Fractal website and the Eden Careers YouTube channel, where you can also find all the videos from the Optimism Fractal videos and or Optimism Fractal events and many other exciting videos and shows here too. So Rosary put out a really nice tweet thread that summarized what we discussed in the last week's episode. Definitely encourage people to watch the video to learn more. There's a little summary about what we discussed here. So, like I said, we've been discussing proposals for Eden Fractal's core intents to help align the fractal ecosystem, as well as the agendas game, the community agendas game that allows communities to set topics or choose topics in a democratic manner and talk about what's most important to the community. So we talked about that. We talked about the ORDAO deployment. You can learn more at optimistics.io/ORDAO over here to learn more about this tool, this elegant set of smart contracts that Tadas is building for fractal decision-making processes, and much more. Check out the tweet and like and share. Much appreciated. And of course, you can go to the optimistics.io/tools up in the top right corner to learn more about the apps that you can play and the software that you can start using to empower your community. More details on the Eden Fractal blog too, where you can find what we're doing. And a lot of our strategy documents are also on our Notion site. For today's agenda, we don't really have something that's firmly planned. So I actually pulled up a thing over here that I seem to have lost. Where did it go? Okay, I guess I lost it. So up there it is, potential discussion topics. So yeah, so Eric was sharing some updates with us, and so would be curious to hear more updates from anybody about what they've been up to. I just kind of wrote out some topics that I thought might be interesting to discuss that we've been discussing recently that we haven't fully discussed. And so the topics that I suggested here are ORDAO deployment on base. DOS has been planning to deploy the Eden Fractal software on base for a while, and we've been coordinating about that. So we could discuss more about this. We were discussing the Eden Fractal Community Agendas game, Agendas, the Eden Fractal Core Intents. Tadas mentioned Eden Fractal's consensus process. So we currently don't have a formal consensus process. We used to, but we could reboot that and we could talk about what consensus process that might be. We've talked a lot about fractal funding mechanisms, or like we've explored that a lot basically, and funding is a big theme for 2025. So we could discuss fractal funding mechanisms. We could dive deeper into strategy planning for 2025, how to unlock this transformative growth for the fractal ecosystem and for these tools and processes, general fractal ecosystem news, updates from community members. So basically, it's an open discussion format here. So if anybody has something that you'd like to discuss, then let us know. If CC, you want to introduce yourself for the community, now that now that we're being recorded, then feel free. Or if you want to share any updates about Zao Fractal, Rosmari, Tadas, if anybody has any ideas, then feel free. I see CC's unmuted now and on camera, so nice to see you. And
Hi,
hello.
nice to see you too. Hi, my name is Cece or Heather, either one. I am with the Zao. I run the calendar for Zao. So anytime anybody has a space on Twitter or a show on YouTube, a meeting on Zoom, or whatever platform that you're on, you come to me, give me your time, location, topics, what your generalized show is about. We place it on our calendar so that anybody can come in anytime of the day and say like, oh, it's 3 o'clock. I'd like to go into some type of something. I want to get to know. Oh, this looks interesting. So we have multiple different options for multiple different topics for everything that you could think of, kind of like the old school TV guide. So you can go in and find something that piques your interest, or find a community that you can collaborate with. Is one of our main goals, and to get everything back up and on chain and back into the artist's hands. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm coming in as a sponge to learn as much as I can. So I am very grateful for the opportunity to be here, and I thank you very much.
All right, sounds great. Well, you're very welcome, Heather. Thank you for the introduction and all the great work that you've been doing with the Zao Fractal and the Zao community. Much
They're
appreciated.
amazing. They're
Awesome.
absolutely amazing. We've got
Awesome.
a really good group of really smart, talented people that just love to be incredibly helpful and experience new things, which I think is absolutely amazing. I can't wait to see where this leads to later in life for so many people. So I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Well, that's wonderful to hear, and I'm very excited to see where the Zao community goes to. I've had the pleasure to meet many people working in the Zao community, and I'm I share the same sentiment about people doing amazing things. Yeah, if you didn't want to share, I'd be curious how long you've been involved with the Zao community, and also have you been participating in the Respect games that are at the Zao Fractal? And if you have any
I
thoughts about
have.
that, okay.
Yeah, I go in on our Monday meetings every week, and I absolutely love it because we'll get in and we share our screen kind of like we do here at the beginning of what we were for, and then we sit down and we split our groups up into about six into separate rooms, and we'll run different moderators for each room, and we go around the room and introduce ourselves if we've never been there before, and if we have, we tell who we are and what we've been doing for that week, and what we're doing to promote not just the Zao, but the products that we're bringing into Zao and the products that we're pulling out for Zao. And then we go in as community members for those six, and we vote up each community member so that we all come in together as, equals. And it's absolutely phenomenal. It's my first experience with it, and I am absolutely 100% in love with it. It is just the most amazing feeling, and it gives you such a feeling of self-worth to know that people recognize what you do even when you don't, which is pretty amazing. I wish that this had been around when I was a kid because I'm old. So I'm like, I came into this at near 50. So if I can learn this, anybody can learn this. But I would highly recommend that you do it at a younger age, if you can. Yeah. I mean, you don't obviously have an option to wait on birth. Sometimes.
Right. Okay. Well, awesome. I saw Tadas and Rosmari both put up hearts there, and yeah, that's a really cool feedback. So I'm really glad that you've enjoyed so much both the Zao community and the Respect game as well. I'm not sure if you're familiar if Zao shared the background, but we've been building the Respect game for several years in a way now, and so we're all stoked about the Respect game as well as people implementing like the Respect game, like how people are doing the Zao Fractal. And so that's amazing feedback for us to hear, and we're really thrilled that you've been enjoying it so much and finding those benefits of it about how people recognize what you're doing and so forth. So yeah,
Well, I'm a little embarrassed now because I didn't realize that was your creation. Well done. Oh my God, I'm thoroughly impressed. No, it is an amazing. It is. I'm actually on it right now, so that's what I was looking at and didn't even put the two together. I apologize. It's early for me.
No, no, it's no problem at all. And it's not totally our creation. There's been a community who's been working to build this for the past 4 years, and we have formulated it into what we now call the Respect game. And people like Tadas is on the call right now. Tadas has been building software for the Respect game for the past couple of years now, and there's other great developers who have been building it. There's a developer named Abraham who built the app that you're probably using, and Eric has been working to integrate it. But yeah, that's basically the purpose of the Eden Fractal community working to I had mentioned to um, implement these fractal decision-making processes, what we call throughout society for Eden Fractal. But the main fractal decision-making process is the respect game, basically. And we talk about doing it via gamification, make these games like the respect game that people really enjoy playing and that bring people together and help people recognize each other's work. And then through that, you also improve the collective decision making too, because you probably have the respect token from the Zao that you've earned, and many other people do as well. And so using that respect token, you can also make decisions and coordinate and have all sorts of different, possibilities and powers. That's what we're really focused on here. We're aiming to help communities like the Zao Fractal, and Eric also has a community that he's been working to empower with the Respect game or some similar kind of system to the Respect game. So we're really pleased that you came and joined here. I'm really pleased that you have enjoyed it, and no problem at all that you're learning about us and learning about it. But
Do
go
have
ahead.
a question. I do have a question now that I know who I'm talking to. Um, have you guys thought about putting together a board game on Fractal for elementary kids?
Yes. Yeah, I thought about it
Like
a lot.
Monopoly? You
Uh-huh.
really should, like they did with Monopoly, because the world doesn't work like Monopoly used to, and kids cannot grasp the concept. If to have a board game of Fractal for kids to introduce into an elementary school, especially since we have so many ADD and ADHD kids nowadays, would be phenomenal.
Yep.
I'm just
I
saying.
I agree. Great point, Heather. Thank you for the inspiration. I saw the Tadas. He joined the camera and he got his eyes light up there. Yeah, I thought about that a lot. Over the past couple of weeks, I actually, or past month or two, I started playing some board games. I was really thinking, researching how we could make the Respect game into a board game that people could play, not just in these meetings online, but in real life and families. I played with my family before. It's really fun and it has a lot of potential. And like you said before too, like it's great for all ages basically. It's great for people in their 50s, in their 30s, and their 20s. It's great for people who are 5 years old or 9 years old, I think. So that's one of the
Exactly.
goals to figure out how to play it in a board game and how to make it there so that we can really help communities play this in all kinds of contexts in local families, in large companies and businesses, and so forth. And yeah, for sure, I see a lot of benefits in education and for young people to both enjoy each other's time and also build, the essential social skills and so forth that they need as they're growing too. And board game would be a great way to do that.
Yeah, even if you can implement with it like board and like trading cards so that you could trade different fractal groups on the board would be kind of a cool thing to do. Because I know most of the kids I know have to collect one thing or another, whether it be Pokemon cards or GI Joes when I was a kid. Yeah, I'm old. Um, but that would be kind of cool too, because if you could play the cards along with the board game, if the kids took them to school for recess or something, they could play the card game and trade the cards for their next game, kind of like Magic does. That would be kind of interesting. Kind of give them like a stock trading kind of quality to them on top of that.
Yep, I agree. So I thought a lot about how we can integrate that with the on-chain elements too, as we're building on Ethereum and so forth. And so it's a very interesting thing to explore. And I think of different ways we can gamify it, where you can earn points in fast-paced respect games and things like that. Maybe have game prompts where you have like maybe 100 different cards with different games you could play as well, where people are like competing over their musical talent or whatever it may be.
Oh,
Um,
that's a good one. I like that. The musical talent cards, or even maybe like a scavenger hunt. A worldwide scavenger hunt would be kind of cool. Like X marks the spot for like mystery cards or pack or something to that effect. That could be really fun.
yep.
I know I'd play.
I agree. Well, stay tuned out there, and I love all of the creativity and ideas, Heather. And yeah, something we should explore more. And think about the best way to do it. And if you have ideas along the way, then feel free to share them at our events. Also, we could share our Telegram and so forth too. We'd love to hear all these ideas like that. So I suppose we should continue this conversation with the board game. If anybody has any other ideas about the board game or in general, I see that Eric has had his hand up for a while, and also. Zao seems to be frozen. I think he said that he's on a flight
Get in a
and
flight.
he says very excited about the board game. He says had a wonderful meeting. Love you all. Have a good week. But he lost his internet. So thanks so much, Zaal, for being here. And he also talked about how he came into Web3 as a TCG player or a trading card game player. That's how he came into Web3. Zao.cards. I don't know what that is. But sounds interesting. Rosemary saying like Yu-Gi-Oh! How cool would that be? Rosmari shared t.me/Eden Fractal. So I encourage you to join there and share any thoughts there throughout the week about respect game and board game. Tadas said Dan thought about all possible respect game applications in the universe. Yeah, not quite yet. I'm sure there's a lot more. The respect game has a lot of applications, but I'm doing my best over here. And then Zal also wrote something interesting, or I think it's interesting. I think we should have different token voting be allowed within fractals that were made from Eden Fractal and normalize it. So if someone has 20K tokens, say from the Zao Fractal out there, versus 10K tokens from the Optimism Fractal, but both can be used, just the 20K ones are worth half as much as valuable, normalized, something like that. And then there's some comments here. I don't know if Tadas, you want to jump in here. Tadas was asking the effect would be that all fractals have equal voice. And Tadas says exactly. So our different fractals as they grow help support Eden Fractal's ideas. Just a thought. This is Zal who's saying this. Just a thought for getting more people involved with governance, potentially really focus on funding for Fractal specifically, but sending ideas. And Tadas says, this matches my idea too. I just conceptualize it as a higher order fractal, but I think that all fractals should have equal vote in the beginning. Yeah, very interesting. We thought a lot about the concept of higher order fractals, where fractals can collaborate and vote with different tokens from Zao Fractal, Eden Fractal, and many other fractals too. So great thoughts from Zal here. Great thoughts from Tadas. If you want to add to that, Tadas, then feel free. This has been a very exciting event so far today. Eric has had his hands up for a while, so I suppose we should pass it over to Eric now. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. We haven't heard from Eric here in a while. He said he's been quite busy over the past weeks. So, Eric, if you'd like to continue on this conversation or share any thoughts, then would love to hear whatever's on your mind.
Yeah, for first, just a response on gaming, having played with game development, both physical board games and digital, like with Tadas, working on like Alien Worlds, largest distributed metaversal game company. So the big thing about games is the goal. So we try not to get too wrapped up on the methodology, and we use that. The big thing people are focused is the journey, the game. So, we start by storyboarding the journey where you want to go, and then the path to get there. And that's when you put the fractal stuff in there. It's just the path. I just remember my kids wouldn't do anything with math, and then they started playing magic cards, and they could go, oh, 12 plus 7, oh, you have 18. And all of a sudden in their head, they're doing this massively complex arithmetic in there, but it wasn't the cards. It wasn't that, it was this path. I want to get here. So that's something about gaming. I've spent, for CC that doesn't know, my focus is how do we get this stuff into the hands of everyday people? How do we make it easy to explode this stuff and move it globally? And so I've started working with volunteer organizations. And the first thing I learned with that is they have to really view volunteers as a path to where they're going. If the volunteers, oh yeah, we have some volunteers, we just call them here, and then can you show up and do this? And they don't really give them any decision making or any feedback. So I've talked to an organization that brings in about $4 million a year, and they've been using their volunteer roles and it's a community organization for a whole city, and they've been using their volunteers just as kind of menial labor. And so I've talked to the CEO and they have 185 people working for them, by the way, and the volunteers, but they're nowhere near where they want to get to on the community outreach. So it's like, well, could you use that, turn that volunteer you have into a real workforce? And they're like, yeah. So that's one thing, is if you're going to mobilize these people, how are they going to look? How's an organization to look at these people you're trying to motivate? Is it kind of a director thing where the boss does everything and they view everybody as just shut up and do what you're told? Or are they actually willing to? So I've learned to ask those questions. If we go in to help you, how's that going to impact the lives? So I've been focusing on some service organizations. So I'm right now been moving conversation. So far, it's gone pretty good with Rotary clubs. And Rotary Club is the largest service organization in the world, and they're all over. So I've been meeting to Rotary clubs in addition to some other organizations. And I've learned that, you walk into a Rotary club, and if you go in and say, I've got this fully thought out thing, let's do it, let's go, here it is, and then you do this, and then the tokens, they just turn off. So that's why I've been working with Abraham to roll in a very easy, small capability that gets them a result, and then slowly add the layers up to decision making. Because I've found that when you're trying to change the way people think or behave, it's really hard, even if it's a simple change. So you have to first go, again, the goal, and then provide an easy, fun path to get there. And they don't care that it's fractal. They just care about let's doing these things. So I created a presentation to get permission to do my dissertation, to do my research. I had to do this big long presentation in front of an institutional review board. They finally said, do it. So I've reduced that down to a presentation that takes about 15 minutes that I could just give people that says, here's the why, here's where it comes from. And most importantly is here's why you can trust this. Here's why the risk is minimum to you. Here's the benefits. And so I found that's a real important part when you're approaching an organization, to make sure the benefit is clear, because first it's, do we want the goal? So you hit the heart first. The heart part is, wouldn't this be cool? Wouldn't this result be something you really like? The second thing is the head. Well, yeah, but it does make sense. So you link all the particulars that make sense. But then the last thing is this gut check. Do I trust Rosmari or CC or Tadas or Dan with this? How do I trust, this is my organization, that screening part. So I've learned to add something in there to say, I've thought about all your concerns and I addressed all those in the presentation. So I'm still working on that. It's come a long way just by giving it, getting feedback, changing it, getting feedback. So that's pretty good. And I guess, so that's it. Roll this out, not hit them with a whole huge, change your way of business, change your way of life. It's like, hey, this can do what you normally do. Let's work this in to make it very simple to integrate that in, and then give them another layer. So Abraham and I have talked about, how do we, instead of giving them a whole application that does everything and get on board, how do we do this? Then we open up another layer. Then, oh, you're ready. You open up another layer. Oh, you're ready. Open up another layer. So we spent a lot of time thinking about those layers and getting feedback on organizations. Is how would you accept that rollout if somebody walked in to do that? And the last thing I did was figure out how to even the points over disparate groups with different numbers. I think I could share my screen and then I'll be done. I don't want to talk too much, but let's see if I can. Let's see if that works.
You should be able to share your screen now.
Okay.
Thanks for the updates, Eric. Looking forward to seeing what you'll share.
What I do is I just give everybody in level 6 the same number of points. In any group, if you're level 6, here's how many points you get. So it's based on how many points are available to the level and how many participants there are at that level. And to get to the points for a level, then I use the Fibonacci sequence to do the weight for level 1, which is the golden ratio 1.816, and then goes up. And then I add up all the weights and then do that based on the total available points.
Right. And so you're saying, whereas in a lot of times when we play the respect game, say at Optimism Fractal, then we have it where no matter how many groups we have it where level 6 gets 55 respect and level 5 gets 34 respect and so forth. You're saying that you have it where maybe during a specific day or specific game, a specific instance of when you're playing the respect game, then you're saying there's a total of say 500 points for level 6. And everybody, if there's more rooms, then people will receive less respect or appreciation tokens or whatever you call them. Whereas if there is more rooms and more people who get level 6, then there'll be less tokens per person.
Yeah, so
I'm
giving the same amount of points available every week, although you could change it for my research and for CC and those that don't know. What I do is I give the volunteers a volunteer motivation, the most rigorous method of doing that, the volunteer functions inventory. So I get a score on how motivated they are to volunteer. And then every week for 8 weeks, we do this engagement where you get 3-minute activity reports. You rank everybody, then I assign the points. So every week for this research, I'm giving the same amount of points, but it's based on, how many people show up, how the groups, in fact, I think can you guys see that?
Yes.
All right. So, just the ratio you get, level 1 gets 1, and then you get 1.618 times that, then add 1.618. So it goes up to level 6, you're getting 11 times more than what you get at level 1, basically. And this, I just did an example. What if there are 1,000 points and I had 100%, 100 participant? That breaks up into 15 groups of 6 and 2 groups of 5. So then when you look at the adjusted weights, you get the total weights over, all of that over the weight of that group. So 1 divided by whatever. And then what that does, when you multiply that, you get points per level. And then you just divide those points by the amount of people at that level. So in this case, if you're level 1, you get 2.16 points. And if you were level 6, you get about 24 points. And of course, if you made 10,000 points available, you'd have 20 points to start and 230 points, assuming 100 people showed up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very interesting. If anybody else wants to jump in, of course, then feel free to unmute and just share any thoughts or ask any questions too. And so Eric, is this part of, I know before we started recording, you were saying how you have been making progress both I think in practical implementation of this as well as in the research that was improved to the next stage. And
Right.
you've been putting together a very comprehensive research paper measuring the effect of
I have hundreds of pages talking
yeah.
about why this works and why we chose 6 and why proportional points and why, and the dangers. The one thing they made me cut out was a leaderboard. So I can't give them a leaderboard. And so I had to do research on the impacts of leaderboards. And it turns out if you're high on the leaderboard, no problem if you're but if you're low, people can drop out and feel bad about themselves. But there's ways to mitigate that, which we do. And so then I had to go say, well, look, here's proof that this mitigates that. But the university and some of the organizations I talked to wouldn't buy off on it. They were worried. So for my first step, if it wasn't the university, I would have done it anyway. But I can't do university research that hasn't been approved by the university. So they were very insistent that I had to get rid of leaderboards, for example.
I do have a question pertaining to this. So I don't know if it's so much a question as a thought. A couple years ago, I had an issue. I have an 11-year-old, and he had given me some heartbreaking news about not having any friends. And I had reached out, and I don't know if you know of an app called Nextdoor, and put on a little post that, I was going to have like some toys out on the front yard, and if somebody wanted to come by and play and whatnot, and if, we could paint and play toys, whatever. Well, I ended up with having a huge event outside my house the next morning, and all the neighbors showed up and kids came, and we ended up with a huge art fair practically in my front yard. It was amazing. And it got me thinking, because this ended up going viral and going across the states, where kids were going outside to meet other kids that they hadn't met in honor of my son, which I thought was really cool. And it was not something that was planned. It just hit with somebody and it took off. And it got me thinking about the multi-generations and where the gaps lie in our system, and how when COVID hit, everybody isolated and forgot how to talk to one another. And the kids are the ones that kind of suffered in this, because they got stuck with only certain people for long periods of time and never learned how to reach out of their circle unless it was online. Well, at that same time, we were all trying to learn. Some of us were catching up. Some of us had already been online. Like I hadn't really messed around online since like 2000. And even then I barely did. I'm like beginning Nintendo generation. So um, I ended up sitting down with some friends and coming up with an idea where the kids in the elementary school would have a program that they could build together in their classroom with teachers, online with students from the high school that already know the program, to come in and volunteer their time to teach the kids how to play the tech, whether it be, we'll say Roblox, for instance. We put Roblox out there, the kids learn on it, and as they graduate grade to grade, they slip down to the grade below them and help coach up the next grade. And this continues on into high school, where they come back to the elementary school. And in the meanwhile, the parents are also incorporated into it as well, so that they're learning the same system and can be supportive at home
Okay.
when the
So,
kids come
so
back.
one of the comments that I'll have, so we create a program where high school mentored junior elementary, and
Right.
college mentored high school, and young professionals mentored college, and senior professionals mentored that. And actually, we used um, submarines,
Okay.
robot underwater submarines is that. And so the first thing, they could put this thing together and build a submarine, but by the time they got up to college and beyond, they were building real industrial
Well,
submarines.
my
We had
point being is, what if we use the fractalgram to implement that? And those, instead of the leadership board, it's college credits.
well the
Is
first
that
thing the
feasible?
first thing the first thing is you have to have a real strong reason. So you start with, why are we doing this? So we know what you're doing is good, but you're starting down at the let's do the activity level. And when you're selling this, you have to start with, why are we doing that? What's this for? Like, our thing was to train people for jobs in science. And so it was pretty clear what they had, and then we break up what the requirements are. The second thing is, you want, in building communities, because you want this to grow, right? Without you
Right.
having to do it all. So the first thing is connection. So one of the things that gets people is it's a tool for connecting people. One of the biggest problems in group connection is the dynamics of group tend to make it so a few people do all the talking they control. Like, myself and Dan will talk all day. Tadas hardly ever talks, but we'll control this because we're just that force of personality wins, and it shouldn't. So one of this thing does is it mitigates the group dynamics, where everybody creates a safe space to talk. Everybody gets heard. Everybody feels that. That's a really important thing. And that's what we're rolling out first, is it's really, if you're going to make a change, you have to first get the people connecting. And then what I've done is saying, well, if you make that change connected to a mission, and you keep guiding people back on that mission. So part of it is digital transformation. If you're going to get a group of people to say, I'm okay doing this technology stuff, there's a huge pushback. Anytime you want to implement, you have to build a digital culture. If you slip that into your mission and appreciate it, that's a way of changing digital culture. So that's the first thing, is, how do you connect people? How do you give them autonomy to come up with their own programs? Like when we did that, there's a program called Guppy, and that was the first level, which then went to Porpoise, which then went to, these trials where people would show up and have these robotics contests, to professional things, to a community college course where they had a 98% placement rate out that. So, you get these autonomies for people to develop their own things within their framework. And then you offer them mastery, which you're offering, which is, I'm going to get good at something. Um, and then you have to inject energy. That's the leadership, and you're great at that. So energy. And then the other part this does is, you got to reward people. So if you look at those elements of building a community: connection, autonomy, mastery, purpose, energy, and recognition, those are things to think about in your system. And it starts by getting the P, that purpose, connected first, and then giving people autonomy to figure out how this goes. So if you're going to do this, you're saying, I'm going to impose this whole rigid structure. If there's no structure, it falls apart. If it's too structured, people live. So it's kind of like tuning the structure to give people enough purpose and mastery, but enough to give them autonomy. Hope that helps.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Eric, and thank you, Heather, for the great discussion. Tadas had his hand raised for a while. He just lowered it a minute ago, but would love to hear your thoughts, Tadas. We also only have we have about 12, 13 minutes scheduled on the agenda for the event. So we'll probably wrap it up soon. We can also go longer if we want to, but want to make sure we have enough time to get into all the topics we want to get into. Tadas, do you still want to share your thoughts that you had your hand raised for a while with?
Well, it's not very important. That may be a question for Eric. I mean, for me, if you don't have leaderboards, what's the point of having points? Do people show them? Do people see them somewhere and just for themselves,
Oh yeah,
or
you get points. You get congratulations. You're appreciated. Congratulations on earning this much points, and now here's your total points. So they get an individual. And by the way, I personally am not against leaderboards because I even did the research to say, yeah, here's how you mitigate them. The leaderboards are if you have people do the exact same thing and we're getting competed against doing the exact same thing, then we're more compared against each other. And Tadas makes me look bad, but we're not doing the same thing. That's one of the mitigation forces. So again, I'm not against leaderboards. I'm just saying I got resistance from some organizations I was talking about. They would not let me do it if it had a leaderboard, because true or not, their perception is that leaderboards are bad. And the university would not let me do a leaderboard. So once I'm done with my research, I can do whatever I want. But I'm going to roll this out. That's just something that you have to be careful about when you do that. I've been doing Duolingo for like 6 years, and I'm on the leaderboard and it doesn't freak me out. I'm like, oh, better get that to get back to that. I don't want to drop back to the other level. So it was less than the fact whether leaderboards are good or bad. It's that you have to address those concerns, and I think we address them. I never heard anybody drop out in our group because, I feel so bad about the fact. Hardly anybody here feels bad if they're at the bottom because they go, yeah, I didn't do so much this week, and I think there's enough appreciation. And the other reason that it's mitigated is we are not ranking people. If I have 100 people, I'm not ranking anybody 1 to 100 with everybody else. I'm ranking within these groups, and you're getting these additive scores. So everybody can get a level 6 in a group of 6 people. That happens. So that mitigates it too. So I tried to mitigate it. I even gave research and did it. There's a whole chapter, parts of my dissertation that talks about it. They didn't like leaderboards. So just realize that some organizations may have a resistance to that.
yeah, I understood that wasn't your initiative to remove leaderboards. Regarding how you calculate points, as I understand, your motivation to change from what we use was to fairness.
To mitigate it off of when I do these various groups across the whole. First was how do we do it within an individual group of 6, then how do you mitigate it across groups?
Okay, interesting.
And that was a specific request. Well, how are you going to do that? So I came up with it so they would let me move ahead with my research. Because I could do it. I
was curious, how are you going to track points? What kind of, are you going to use a database, or what kind of tool are you going to use? And also, how are you going to adjust? Do you have to adjust that database if you are using a database based on the participants? So you're going to first calculate how many participants there are for each week of the 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be the person to take care of that calculation?
Yep.
Okay.
It's me and my spreadsheet to start. If it works, then it'll just go into the app. And I'm not emotionally attached to this either. I don't say this is how we have to create points. I'm saying this is how I have to do points for my research because it addresses the concerns they brought up.
Are you planning to use the app, the fractalgram app, for the voting part?
Yeah, Abraham's app.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Now we've had to make some changes for this group. If you notice in Abraham's group, you can actually pick a group now. And you can give them a thing that just goes to your group, so they don't even see other groups. So when I give them a link, it'll just take them to our group. And the other thing, we had to make it so they could do this groups on their own. So a lot of the work Abraham and I've been doing is, so how do we do that if we don't have trained moderators through the whole organization to make it really simple? So it had to be more like, how do you, when you get consensus, how do you move on? And how do you do that? But eventually, I'm just doing this as bare minimum to get through research. After that, it'll just be added to the app. And we may change it when we remove university restrictions. But right now, it's done in a spreadsheet. And the only reason it isn't in the app is because I want to get the research done before Abraham, who works, has limited time to work on it. I don't want him taking that time, even though he could easily add it to the app. If he gets it done in time, yeah. But most likely I will just be doing it in a spreadsheet and giving them all an individual email every week saying, congratulations, here's your points you earned this week, and here's your total points.
All right. Do you want to respond to that, Rosmari? So you unmuted there. Or Tadas, do you have any other? I see everybody's unmuting themselves now.
I can respond, although you did have your hand up some time ago. So if you want, you can go ahead and I can continue after or something.
Oh, yeah, my hand was just up a little while ago because I noticed that Tadas's hand was up for a while, and I wanted to make sure that Tadas had a chance to speak. We do have 7 minutes left to the top of the hour, so if we want to wrap it up at the top of the hour, then I could start to close off. I do have some thoughts as well about the respect token issuance that I wanted to bring up, but I did bring up a little some slides I can bring up that I could weave that into the conclusion presentation as well. So I'm not in a rush to speak, but I could start to wrap us up whenever we're ready. So Rosemary, if you want to go ahead and share your thoughts, then feel free. And if anybody else has any other last thoughts you want to share or questions or comments like that, and go after Rosemary, then that's welcome as well.
I was just curious for Eric, if Eric, you can give like a maybe an overview of the process and kind of like a step by step in a way on how the experiment will be held. And
Sure.
just so I get the steps more.
Step one is getting leadership approval to invite people. Once leadership comes out, then together we go out and we invite the people to do that. And I have spelled out, here's the research, here's why it is, here's what you're getting, here's, all that gets spelled out. And before they can participate, they have to actually sign a consent form saying, I realize I can drop out anytime. I know what I'm getting into. At that point, we give them training, an hour training, and they get a random number for this group. In the real world, I don't care. Our names are good. But in this group, I have to give everybody a random name. So they get signed a randomized name. With that name, they go in and they do a Google form I've set up to take the volunteer functions inventory, which is 30 questions in 6 areas that says, here's how motivated you are. So it looks at 6 areas of motivation. Each area gets 5 questions. So they get a total score. So the most you could get was 30 times 7. That would be your number score, because you rank each question 1 to 7. Once you have that score, then when the time comes, you go join the group in Zoom. You get assigned to groups of 6. You get the link, which takes you right to the group, and then you join the group that's the same group as your breakout number. So if you're in breakout room 7, you would just click group 7 in the fractalgram, and then that would have you in there. And then we're talking about the oops button. What, you ended up in the wrong group. How do you get out? So that's one thing, the oops button. And once you go in there, you just start voting. And when you reach that consensus, it requires two people. That's what we're thinking, two people to say, yeah, just move on. Any two people can say. It'll say, hey, we're ready to move on. Concur? Yes, yes. And then it just moves on. So it takes that. We don't have any timers built into this automatically. So that's part of the training. Then once they're done, then the app gives us everybody's name and we get their rank, and then the points get assigned in the spreadsheet. Then I have to go send that. All of that would be automated in the future. And then next week they come back and do it again. They come back and do it again. They come back. So when they finish their 8th time, then they go take the volunteer functions inventory again. And so they get a new score. And then I subtract the initial score from the final score. And hopefully that's positive. Hopefully they're more motivated. And so then I rank that with their points. So I have points and motivation, and then I scrape even their fake names. So all I have is, here's somebody, I don't know who it is, who got this is their motivation difference, and here's their points. And then I do a correlation with that. And I have to get about 100 or more volunteers so that I can statistically prove that the result, hopefully appreciation goes up, was due to the appreciation and not something else.
Thank you for the overview. And just one clarification question. Are they actually coming up in a physical rooms when they present their, what is the prompt, or what is something that they actually present each week? What are they talking about for the 3 minutes? Is there a question that they have to answer?
They talk about whatever they want. But the guidance on what to appreciate is very clear. I can do that. It comes down to 2 sentences. So basically, I've taken decades of research and came down to 2 sentences and says, here's how you appreciate people. So that's the core of the whole thing is because if you don't do appreciation right, you can actually kill the motivation and it doesn't get the result you want. So a lot of the research was synthesizing whole summary of how you motivate people and how you motivate volunteers, and breaking it down, simplify, till I have it down to 2 sentences that I can give people that says, here's your guidance on appreciate. And for example, one of it is that you appreciate people at all stages. You don't wait till Tadas finishes his app and you go, great job, here's appreciation. Oh, you've decided to do this, congratulations. Oh, you've put together a team, or you've done that. So the second part is, at every stage you appreciate people. Oh, you've hung in there that long, this is tedious, and you're still there. That's worth something. So that's an example of one thing, is you don't wait to the end, you appreciate every stage. And that's just one example. So it's the guidance on appreciation, and how you appreciate people is actually one of the real cores of the whole thing.
Yes. So when they rank each other's, what are they ranking each other's for? Each other's answers or contribution?
Appreciation or contribution to the mission.
So everyone goes in turn and says what they appreciate, what they appreciated this past week.
They just vote. Everybody, just like we've been doing, practicing for years. They go on and everybody gets 3 minutes to say, here's what I care about, here's what I did, here's what I'm thinking about, here, whatever they want. 3 minutes, and then you just say, all right, now take what these people have said and rank how well you appreciated their contribution to the mission using these simple guidelines. And it's just subjective. They just vote who's level 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, depending on how many people you have in there. So just like we've been doing.
And this is the mission. I think what Rosemary's trying to get at, which I'm also curious about too, is what is the mission in this context? Is that something that's like that you can share here? This is an organization with a predefined mission.
Yes,
okay.
I only work with organizations that have a strong mission. And
okay.
If they don't have a strong defined mission,
yeah,
then I don't do it.
Okay. And
Because you
so,
have to say, I appreciate your contribution to the mission.
okay,
And
thanks.
that's how you get people to do digital transformation. If you put that digital part into that, then you're appreciating them very basically their acceptance and contribution. That becomes part of it also, is to digitally transform an organization. If that's it, I'm not saying it has to be, but that's how you get people. It gets people talking, but it gets them focused on going from concepts, here's what we're trying to do, to activity. That's always the biggest challenge in any organization, is you get activity people who are really good and go do things, and then you get concept people, and it's that gap between here's where we want to go and here's what we're doing. That's the biggest challenge in organizations, is to keep that flow, because most people are one or the other. We either think in terms of let's do a bunch of stuff or let's go somewhere.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for the clarification. Rosemary, do you have any other follow-up questions or comments on this?
No, thank you.
All right.
Thank you for everything that you're doing.
So I'm using the
Yeah.
volunteers where I work, by the way, as my test group to make sure my training and the app works and they can actually do it. So I'm implementing that at the early stage life science accelerator. We're actually using our volunteers and ambassadors as my guinea pigs before I expose other people to the real deal.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you, Eric, for all the research and sharing. Yeah, we got some claps here from Heather. Much appreciated. Thank you, Rosemary, as well, for all the questions, and Heather and Tadas along the way. We are a few minutes past the hour here, so we can start to wrap up any minute. I'm curious, Rosemary, Tadas, Heather, Eric, is there anything else that you wanted to share before we wrap up the episode? Or if not, then I can go and share a few minute presentation to wrap us up with also a couple of my thoughts on one of the topics that was discussed as well. But yeah, the floor is open though. If anybody else has any other thing you want to share before we wrap it up.
In my brief, I have your pictures, some of your pictures in it.
Okay.
Because I'm saying this is what we're doing, is seeing if this methodology we worked online for years works as well or better locally, and can I prove it? And I do that. I have a picture of our sessions, which is just you guys in there, and it lists the groups. Optimism, it lists, look, here's where this has been tested.
Very cool.
So just letting you know. So you're in there to say, oh, we've done this lot of groups. So that's part of how you reduce the anxiety is, well, how do I know this works? Well, look at all these groups that use it. I could even add to it.
All right. Excellent.
Now.
Well, yeah, thanks for including us. We can include a picture from the Zao Fractal there sometime. And yeah, I'm glad that we could help support your research with our smiling faces and all of our experience. We have played something like a few hundred respect games, I think, over the years over here at Eden Fractal and Optimism Fractal and stuff like that. So and we have lots of videos. So anybody else who wants to take pictures of us and put it in their research for respect game related stuff, feel free. Thank you, Heather. Thank you. Okay, cool.
It will be hard to choose the picture.
That's true. Yeah, we do have a lot on the Eden Fractal website from when we used to wear hats at the end and stuff. We have some nice pictures from there that are pre-selected if anybody wants to dive deep into the website. Okay. Well, should we wrap it up then? And this has been a great discussion on all the research that Eric has been doing, the idea of board games for the Respect game, updates on the Zao Fractal and the Zao Fractal calendar coming together. Thank you so much for joining us, Heather, for the first time. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you, and I hope you've enjoyed the event. And looking forward to collaborating with you going forward. You're welcome to join back anytime. And happy to help out however we can with the Zao Fractal. And thank you very. I love all the hand gestures and everything like that. It's great. It's great body language over here. Very supportive. Much appreciated. And yeah, I suppose it looks like everybody's pretty quiet, other than body language. So maybe I'll start to wrap it up and give a wrap up presentation here. If anybody has anything that comes to mind while I'm doing that, then feel free to raise your hand, and then we can have any last quick concluding thoughts before we wrap up. But otherwise, I'll go ahead and share this presentation about what we discussed today and just some concluding thoughts for everybody to go off on. So, yeah, we've talked a lot about the respect game, what we call the respect game, as well as different ways that the respect game can be played. You can check out optimistics.io/blog to learn more about the respect game and see how it's beneficial for different communities, how it can be played, and so forth. There's lots of resources on the Optimistics website where you can learn more about the respect game as well as respect token, fractal democracy, and everything like that you can get involved with. We've also talked about the fractalgram app that Abraham is building and Tadas started a couple years ago that integrates with OrDAO. And all of these, once again, if you go to Optimistics.io, you can go to tools, you can learn how to empower your community with these tools. There's also the respect.games app that Vlad has built as well that is live and ready to use as well. So I encourage people to check out the apps and join the events and start using these tools to empower your community. And feel free to reach out with any questions about how it could be used and how you could get started. One thought that I had too that I wanted to follow up on for anybody who's interested in that things that Eric was talking about the amount of respect that he gives out as part of this experiment that he's doing is for people who aren't aware, a lot of what we're doing is based off of this concept, this idea of fractally. Fractally.com is an idea in a white paper that was released a few years ago. That's been a big inspiration for a lot of what we've been building. In fractally.com, you can learn more about how it works. And there's a white paper there. And one thing I want to just add is I've been curating a lot of potential improvements to the respect game in the Optimism Fractal Notion site. And one of the things I have here is a project for considering improvements to the respect issuance curve, which I was reminded of when Eric had brought up the amount of respect that he was giving out. So I just wanted to put this out there for anybody who's not aware of it. There's so much resources about the respect game and respect tokens and stuff like that that haven't been that are kind of like that have been saved basically or have been created. And I've been just working to curate them. So being that this is a related topic, I wanted to bring it up. We discussed this apparently in meeting 18 of Optimism Fractal, and then I curated this when we were doing the Genesis Fractal, which was the first fractal we were playing the Respect game a couple of years ago. Dan Larimer, who created the core mechanism of the Respect game, came up with two papers, addendums and refinements to token distribution math that talked about the distribution of Respect token. This article also talks about some different things too, which is quite interesting from what I remember. But there's also math on the distribution of tokens over time. And it was very thoughtful. I remember reading this quite in detail when it first came out. And so for anybody who's interested in diving deeper into the distribution of respect tokens, he had an idea of making it kind of like Bitcoin or something like that, where it has a limited amount of total tokens that are distributed over time. You could see here. And that would make it so like people who participate in the beginning of a fractal have more respect, and then over time it distributes less. So these are some ideas here, and refinement to token distribution math too, with the respect supply curve too, and emission curve. I would love to integrate and implement this in the respect game app eventually, because I think it's a really helpful feature. We kind of just, for simplicity purpose, we've just been using simple numbers like 55, 34, and so forth. But I really like Eric's ideas about having a consistent amount shared each week. And this is kind of similar to here. And I think that's a great field of design and improvement for fractal communities. So feel free to let me know if you want to dive into that. And I could share those in the links, or I could share those links in the Telegram link, the Telegram channel, t.me/Eden Fractal for anybody who wants to dive in deeper. I see Rosmari was saying that she likes Heather ideas too about bringing people together from all ages, learning from each other. I totally agree. Best of luck, Eric, with the research. Curious to learn more and track the progress from Rosmari. Absolutely agree. Thank you, Rosmari. We were talking about respect tokens. There's also an article about that. And yeah, so this has been a great meeting. Encourage people to check out edenfractal.com to learn more and get involved. Also check out the Zao calendar too. This is at the zao.com/calendar. This is the calendar that Heather was talking about that she's been organizing, putting together. You can RSVP for the events on Mondays at 6 p.m. Eastern, I believe it is, EST for the Zao fractals. So encourage everyone to join. I've been meaning to join one of these again and looking forward to it, as well as the Zao community calendar. You can find a bunch of other events from Zao community members here. If there's anything else you want to add, Heather, then feel free to jump in. Thanks again so much for organizing this calendar.
You can also add your own events to the calendar as well. If you would like to add your calls to this or whatever meetings or X spaces that you have, feel free to go in there and fill it out and add it to it. We appreciate all the input that you guys can put in, and the more eyes that we can help get you, the better off we all are. So I really appreciate it. And don't forget that we are on Twitter. You can always find us on there at Zal Community Calendar and or Better Call Zal at Better Call Zal for Zal.
Okay, excellent. Twitter, Better Call Zao, and at the Zao Community Calendar. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, great. I did not know that there was
And
a
at the Zal too.
yes. Okay.
Trust me, when you find Zal, you'll find all.
There we go. It rhymes so perfect. I encourage people to check it out. You can also find some of those links at thezao.com too. And encourage people to check it out. From there, you can explore more. So thanks so much, Heather, both for joining us and sharing that.
And feel free to come in and join our fractals. It's open to everyone. You know, the more the merrier. We like to do our fractal meetings multiple times during the week. So find a day that works for you and jump on in.
Sounds
Earn
great.
some Zal tokens.
Yes, this sounds great. And you can meet all the great musicians at Zao Fractal. We're actually planning
Oh,
to do a case
yes. We've
study
got some
on Zao
really
Fractal.
amazing people.
Yeah. So really cool stuff and love to see it. So yeah, encourage people to check it out and check out the Twitter and check out the calendar like that. Check out the events that are being organized and hosted by people in the Zao community. I will probably reach out and try to do it because we have OP Fractal here, but technically we have Eden Fractal on every other Thursday. And then we have the Optimism Town Hall too. I'm not sure if there's added, so I'll follow up with that. We have our calendar from the Optimistics, the events that we host at lou.mosh-optimistics, and we have the Eden Fractal on today, and then we'll have Eden Fractal again in 2 weeks from now, which I think will be like the 14th or something like that, or the 13th of February. And then next week, we hope you'll all join us for Optimism Fractal as well as Optimism Town Hall, which occurs at the same time, 17 UTC and then 18 UTC, where we will be playing the Respect game. For anybody who's not familiar, Optimism Fractal is a community dedicated to fostering collaboration, awarding public goods, creation, optimizing governance, and super chain, where we play the Respect game as we've been doing for the past year and 4 months, something like that now. So encourage people to RSVP to join the Optimism Fractal events as well as the Optimism Town Hall events, which occur right afterwards. Everyone's welcome to join both these events. So we have Fractals of the week with Zao Fractal, Optimism Fractal, Optimism Town Hall, and we'll be back here for Eden Fractal on the 13th, I believe, like I said, and Thursdays at 7 EC. We hope you'll join us, and we really appreciate everyone's participation here today. So yeah, we're really excited for transformative growth to help everybody benefit from fractal decision-making processes from the Respect game in 2025. So thanks everybody so much for the great call today and the great discussions. We often like to wrap it up by saying like 3, 2, 1, go fractals. So we can do that together when we're ready.
Feel free to merge your calendar onto ours if you guys would like some more eyes.
Thank you. We
You're
would love
always
that.
welcome.
Okay.
We would love that.
Okay, thank you very much. I had to figure out how to do that, how to merge and how to add it. So maybe we could follow up in the chat, or maybe I could just play around with it. But I'm not
Absolutely.
totally sure how to do it. Okay. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Well, yeah, we appreciate that very much, and we're extremely appreciative for everybody in the Zao Fractal community because that's one of the things. Like we've been spending a lot of time building these tools and the software and so forth, and we've been kind of like internally focused, but we really think it's time to help get the distribution basically to help many more people benefit from fractals and to implement the software and so forth. And so we greatly appreciate opportunities to have more attention, exposure, as well as everything that you and everybody in the Zao Fractal community are doing to help bring it to more people. Very much looking forward to collaborating with that. Thank you so much. Heather, I see Rosmari asked, what's your Twitter, Heather? Yeah, I don't actually know what your contact information is either. So if you could leave your
I'm going to
Twitter,
type it in
Telegram,
there
that,
because
appreciate it.
nobody will understand me if I don't. So I'm typing it in now.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Is there anything else? We are 15 minutes past the hour, so we can wrap it up now if we're ready. But if anybody has any last thoughts, Eric, is there something you wanted to say before we wrap up?
Just one quick thing. As you go on your journey to how to assign points, remember to make it fit with the way organizations such as companies do bonuses. So think of those points applying and how they would apply points in their organization. We'll just leave it with that.
Well, good point. And that's also another thing that we could have a much deeper discussion about how points are distributed, how respect is distributed. You could also have it not like a company like, say, Bitcoin, like with that kind of supply schedule where it starts out with a lot and then it decreases. That could be helpful for some circumstances, but some circumstances, like an internal company, you might want to have it differently too. So that's a good point, and it depends. The respect game is a kind of a blank canvas in a way, and it can be tuned and created to fit for each community organization.
Yeah,
So
like CC's game.
yes, coming soon to stores near you, the Respect Game board game. Hopefully, if anybody has any ideas about that, then share them in the chat. We already got dancing going on from here, from the Respect Game board game. Everybody's loving it. It's gonna be the biggest board game pretty soon. Watch out. Okay, cool. Anything else, or should we wrap it up with a 3, 2, 1, go fractals? It seems like we're ready. All right, Heather's already ready with the three. Ready? 3,
3,
2, 1,
1.
0. Go
Go
fractals!
fractals!
All right. Thanks all so much. I hope to see you at the upcoming events. Have a great day.
Thank you.